Fright Night Vault. Audio horror for nighttime listening.
Welcome, Fright Night Vault listeners. Tonight's tale drags us deep into the veins of the city, where crime and darkness entwine until they are no longer separable. Imagine the humid breath of a summer night in the Bronx, the echo of sirens that do not soothe, but stalk. Rats stir in the gutters, shadows lengthen across tenement walls, and behind a badge meant to protect, a man feels a different kind of hunt begin. He was not searching for thieves or killers that evening. His eyes fell on something older, something far colder. Cases began to bleed into each other. A mother who swore her child spoke in voices not his own. A vandalism scene where the spray-painted symbols weren't graffiti at all, but sigils. Domestic violence that left no fingerprints, only claw marks carved into plaster and flesh alike. The streets of New York have always hidden terrors, but these bore no mortal signature. Every sound carried menace. The soft thud of hands against locked doors, prayers scrawled in blood on peeling walls, and the electric hum of despair that lingers where the light never stays long. He thought he was chasing men, but instead he found himself chasing shadows that stared back. And once those shadows began to follow him home, he could no longer deny what the darkness whispered. Some crimes are not human at all. The officer began to notice a pattern. Every call, every crime, every scream seemed threaded with the same malignant thread. Rooms colder than the night air, crosses turned upside down, guttural voices echoing where no mouths moved. Victims swore their attackers were invisible, clawing from the walls or speaking through the mouths of those they loved. He logged the details, case by case, but the reports sounded less like police work and more like scripture, rewritten in blood. At first he tried to rationalize. A skeptic's armor is hard to break. Perhaps trauma, drugs, hysteria. But hysteria doesn't move furniture across a room. Hallucinations don't burn crucifixes into wooden floors without a flame. And addicts do not speak fluently in languages they never studied while their eyes turn black with void. Each explanation he offered collapsed under the weight of what he saw. Each night, the city swallowed another soul and left only a trail of signs, markings etched into brick, fetid odors that clung to skin, voices caught faintly on tape, whispering names that no one had spoken aloud. Soon, he found himself drawn into places the NYPD patrol guide could never prepare him for. Derelict basements littered with bones, apartments steeped in rancid incense, alleys where unseen hands tugged at his clothing. There was always a presence waiting, patient, mocking, amused. And though he carried his badge, his gun, his training, none of it mattered against something that could not be handcuffed, could not be shot. The deeper he went, the more he felt the walls of the city closing in, guiding him toward a truth he didn't want to face, a truth that had been hunting him long before he dared to look for it. It came to a head in a room that stank of rot and old incense. The officer had been called to what seemed like another disturbance, but what waited inside was no crime scene. It was a stage. Candles sputtered on the floor in twisted shapes, their wax forming rivers that seemed to crawl toward the center. At the heart of the room, a woman crouched, her body convulsing, her lips cracking as words poured out, not in one voice, but in many. Male, female, child, ancient, a choir of the damned, all bleeding through her throat. The walls shuddered, plaster cracking as if the building itself was breathing. His flashlight flickered, though the batteries were new. Every instinct screamed to draw his weapon. But what bullet could pierce a shadow? He felt the air grow heavy, pressing against his chest, the heat rising like he stood before a furnace. Then the figure's eyes opened, black bottomless pits, and from her mouth came a whisper not meant for human ears. His name. He stumbled back, heart pounding, but the thing inside her laughed. The room echoed with it, a chorus of mockery. Holy symbols carved into the walls began to drip, as though bleeding. He tried to call for backup, but his radio shrieked only static, and a voice, low and guttural, hissing in a tongue he did not know yet somehow understood. "You are already mine." He could no longer deny it. The evil was not confined to her. It was all around him. It had been watching, waiting, claiming every step he took through those cursed streets, and now it had chosen him as its witness, or its next host. When the air finally loosened and the walls fell still, he staggered from that room a different man. The city's noise seemed distant, muted, as if the world had shifted in his absence. He carried no evidence, no arrest, nothing he could file away, only the weight of what had stared through human eyes and spoken his name. In the weeks that followed, he sought out others, priests and believers, men who claimed to have stood in the same darkness. And with them, he learned a truth too terrible to deny. Some crimes are not born of desperation or greed, but of possession, and the evil that thrives when faith falters. The story you just heard is no invention. You can look it up yourself. It is drawn from the true accounts of former NYPD Sergeant Ralph Sarchi, whose memoir, Beware the Night, inspired the 2014 film Deliver Us from Evil, directed by Scott Derrickson. He claimed to have encountered genuine cases of demonic possession during his years as a police officer in the Bronx, working alongside clergy in real exorcisms. To this day, his testimony remains one of the most unsettling intersections of crime and the supernatural in modern America. So the next time you hear sirens in the distance, ask yourself, are they chasing criminals or shadows? Hit the subscribe button and never walk alone again. See you on the next video. And remember, in the vault, the story might one day be yours.